We'll go 3, 2, 1. We'll both say it at the same time, yeah? 3, 2, 1.
This gets interesting, doesn't it? So you
Max and Perez, or Vettel and Ricciardo?
now.
I'm not going to sit on the fence. I'll tell you.
I'm going to tell you as well.
I'll tell you straight off the bat.
I'll tell you straight off.
Alright. We'll go 3, 2, 1. We'll both say it at the same time, yeah?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. Vettel and Ricciardo.
Oh! Okay, go on. Go on. Go on.
Oh.
Go on.
Again, I feel like it's the same kind of argument as your Ferraris.
It's exactly the same argument, but I think it's more the other way around.
The other way around for you in terms of the fact that you have a clear number 1 and a clear number 2. Is that your thought process? That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
Vettel and Ricciardo, they weren't doing so well together in their first year together. However, I think if you gave it time...
No.
Yeah, because you saw Seb's ability in 2015 when he went to Ferrari.
Yes.
I think if you gave them time, them two could have blossomed very well.
Seb is the type of driver where he needs a solid number 2 behind him. Because when he doesn't, he gets flustered and frustrated very, very quickly.
Yeah, are you saying that when it was Max and Daniel 2017-18 time, Max didn't have a solid number 2 in Daniel?
No, he didn't.
Yeah, but it was.
What do you mean?
Essentially, the way that Red Bull, I felt, looked at it, Max was still their number 1 back then.
Yeah, but it was hard to define because Ricciardo had been there for years and Max had only just come through.
Yeah, it was hard to define, but I feel like that situation of Max and Ricciardo together would have been the same as Seb and Ricciardo.
No, I think it's different. Because Max didn't get frustrated like Seb did. But he was hot-headed, but I think that was more to do with his age and he was coming through and he was still young and he was...
Maybe. I feel like we've been robbed of Seb, and that I think that could have been one of the best pairings that could have been in F1.
I disagree heavily. Because I look at it the same as Ferrari. I think Seb and Daniel just didn't work as a pairing. On paper, it sounds amazing. On paper, it sounds great.
No, but did it in 2014 sound great? Because Daniel was fresh into the team after his year.
Yeah. Exciting, young...
Exactly.
Exciting, young, fast driver.
Exactly. Exciting, young, and your experience of Seb.
Yeah,
that should have worked.
It sounds amazing on paper. So I'm saying it sounds amazing.
And I think if Seb stayed, it would have blossomed very well.
I disagree because the issue was Daniel was quicker, and he won 3 races. Daniel was quicker.
I think Seb
flustered Seb.
Seb had a massive off year that year.
But the thing is, he got frustrated, and you could tell he was frustrated with the car because it wasn't as quick. And then Daniel was beating him, and I think that really, really got to him.
But it is going to get to you if you've won 4 championships on the bounce, and then your team has served you up that.
Which is why, for me, comparatively, Max and Checo is better because Checo is a number 2, Max is a number 1, and there's no competition there.
There is zero competition there. But as a pair, if you're fighting for a championship, if you're Red Bull, I'm hands down choosing having Daniel and Seb over Max and Checo because you know Vettel and Daniel are getting you consistent top 3s. Max is the only one.
Now that's where I will agree.
As a championship, if you want to win your constructors, you're having Seb and Daniel over Max and Checo any day of the week.
Now that's where I agree. And we'll talk a little bit more about this when we talk about Mercedes as well. I think this plays into it. But the whole idea of Max and Checo is if any team... Yeah, Checo finished 2nd in the championship, which he should have done, and he did.
Yeah.
But if Mercedes, McLaren, Ferrari were there fighting for the constructors, Checo is going to be the reason Red Bull don't win it that season, last year. Whereas I can see maybe Daniel and Seb being more consistently getting you top threes. So I guess when you look at it like that, possibly. But
we're on about as a driver pair for a team. And
yeah.
Your team benefit, the team's benefit heavily is weighed in the favour of Vettel and Ricciardo compared to Max and Checo.
But we're not.
Yeah, but if you're in a competitive year.
No, but you're okay. Hold on a minute. You're going off of what if. Wait. Hold on a minute. You're
I'm
going
off of what if.
Yeah, so I could say, okay, well, what if that Ferrari car was competitive?
Yeah, you can go off what ifs, right?
So then, what if Kimi and Alonso worked because the car was good? What if Alonso won the championship and Kimi came third or fourth?
Yeah, but I think the thing is though, that year Alonso was 6th, Kimi was 12th.
Yeah, because the car was shit.
You
said Seb is a clear number one.
I can see that they would probably clash,
which
more.
They did. If they were fighting for a championship,
I can see
they
that.
would have taken points off each other.
And it is difficult because they were only teammates for 1 year. So with them two, it is more what if. However, you can also see with the fact that them two together, you would rather have, because you are certain, provide them a car that's very competitive and in and around everyone. You've got a higher chance of winning that year than you do with Max and Checo. Much higher chance.
That's the only leeway I'm gonna agree with you on. I do agree with that.
I will agree with the fact that Max and Checo won't clash as much. I agree with that, and you've got a definitive. And in terms of if you have a bias towards a driver and you want the drivers' championship, your driver pairing, if you want the drivers' championship, is Max and Checo, because you know Max is winning that. You're going to have more clashes with Ricciardo and Vettel for the drivers' championship. But as a constructor, your Seb and Daniel is a better bet.
So this is I can get behind that thought process. But what actually happened in the 2014 season, was Seb was meant to be the number one, Daniel was meant to be the up-and-coming number two. And we saw the same happen in Ferrari when Charles came in with Seb. So the exact same thing happened. And guess what? Daniel, like Charles, beat Seb.
But again.
And rattled Seb. I'd say Seb was less rattled in Ferrari.
There was a correlation to it in terms of Charles came in and that was the illegal car that year.
It was the illegal car.
And the car dropped off. Again, the car dropped off. Seb's been used to every time, the years before, having a car that can win a championship. And then there's a drop-off in car and a new young rookie who's used to a slower car comes in. I think we saw it with Lewis, maybe last year. George is used to driving a shit car, so any car that's better than a shit car, he'll do good in. Whereas Lewis has got to drop back from an insanely good car to a shit car. It's going to take him longer to get used to that.
Yeah, but surely if Hamilton, Vettel and all them are the GOATs, they can drive any car.
They can drive any car, and we did see on returns, and if we do remember rightly, Seb did beat Charles at Singapore.
Yeah,
that year.
Charles won 2 races, Seb won 1. And Charles beat him in the championship. So,
Charles's win in Italy is still, for me, very fragmented with the terms of pushing Hamilton off the track.
Yeah.
But
we'll move
on from that.
But no, okay, right. At the end of the day, I don't think we're ever going to agree on this.
We are not ever going to agree on this.
To compromise, I think here's what we do. If you want to win the constructors, Daniel and Seb. If you want to win the drivers, Max and Checo.
Yeah.
That's the best lineups.
Yeah. You can separate it like that.
In terms of
I've swayed you off a bit there.
No, because I do agree with that.
Opened your mind.
No, I do agree with it because I'm sticking by what I said last week, where I said that if you want to win the Constructors' Championship, Checo's not your guy.
Yeah.
I do agree with that. So, on that point, I have to agree with you by proxy. right? I've got, I can't go back on myself because I do think that is my thought process with Checo.
Yeah.
However, I just, the only reason I say Checo and Max is because I look back at what happened with Daniel and Seb, and I think Red Bull had the intention of there being a clear number 1 and 2, and it never worked out that way.
No, and it's...
So that's where I'm like, that driver pairing just didn't work. The same way we said the Alonso and Kimi didn't work. So,
it's a difficult one because they also only had 1 year.
Yeah, if they had more years, maybe we would have a different opinion, but
And
they only had 1 year and it
the
didn't
Mercedes came in, the Red Bull was quite unreliable. I think, like, Seb was not used to that sort of car. It was unreliable for it. It was a mix-up to the previous 4 years that he'd had.
Yeah. And it's probably why Daniel was more calm.
Because he came through from a slower car into... It was still a better car
So he
than what he had
wasn't
before.
frustrated, yeah.
No.
But Seb was rattled, though. Seb was very rattled.
I think he was frustrated because he knows the caliber of car that he had in the previous years. To get into that car, it was different to get used to.
And Daniel was quick.
Daniel's naturally quick. I think the same... I don't think you can compare Lewis and George in that way when George came to Mercedes 2022. Yet George beat Lewis overall. And again, you can say that George came from the shit car to a good... Like, that Mercedes was better than Williams, like, even though it was that dog shit. And Lewis went from a championship winning car to that dog shit. But you also know that the fact that Lewis was not in it for racing, he was in it to test the car. He was testing for half a year.
Well, I think you can't compare because
You can't compare them situations.
Lewis was never rattled by George.
Lewis don't get rattled by anyone.
Exactly. He wasn't ever. Well, he did in his early days, but that's his early days.
Lewis rattled Seb as well.
He did. Lewis has rattled everyone.
Rattled
Rosberg.
Max.